Welcome to Create Your Own Economy. This is Valerie Hale. I am the owner of Le Petit Chateau, and the goal of this webinar is twofold. One, we're going to find out if it makes sense for us to partner together as consultant and client, whether or not you're a right fit. And secondly, the other goal is to help you create your own economy. In the next segment, we are going to review a good part of our process, which is discussing the multiple sources of income that leads you to create your own economy. Therefore, regardless of the fit, meaning whether or not it makes sense for us to partner together as consultant and client, you will have really cool takeaways from the next segment to create your own economy. I'm offering listeners the choice of a consulting program either in specifically a small inn, bed and breakfast, as what I did for 13 years, or predominantly an entrepreneur program in a small business. Why would I do that? Because my 13 years experience as an innkeeper, and I never considered myself an innkeeper, I always considered myself a businesswoman, because I took 40 acres, bought 40 acres almost 20 years ago with 3 houses, took the main house and renovated it after $250,000 of investment, and renovated it into a beautiful 4-bedroom bed and breakfast. And trust me, that is truly entrepreneurial skills. And that is another aspect of my own goal, is for anyone who is aspiring to be an entrepreneur, whether that is specifically in the lodging industry or another small business industry. I really want to see people avoid real big problems, because I have real life solutions for those real big problems. Dealing with contractors, demolition, architects, tax compliance, dealing with planning boards, zoning boards. I've done it, and it can be extremely costly. And my own personal goal is to get people up and running quickly in whichever avenue they choose, because it can be extremely scary and extremely expensive to be an entrepreneur. I will also share with you that if you are an aspiring entrepreneur, whether it's in the specific area of lodging or small business, you will have no support from your friends and family and your cohorts. I know this specifically, something we'll get into in the second part of the program. People don't understand what it means to dream big and then do it big. And I do. For a 40-year-old woman to buy 40 acres and 3 houses and make a success of it for 20 years, I can promise you, now everybody knows that I did it, and they go, wow, she did it. But I can promise you, while that time frame was going on, nobody believed in me. But that's okay, because I did it. We've done a lot with my property. Even though I owned it by myself, I had plenty of people to help me. And that's what this program is about also. Not only are you going to work with me as a consultant, but you're going to work with someone who has studied the human mind, the potential of our minds, the human potential. And it's Bob Proctor with Proctor Gallagher and Associates, and he has a couple of really amazing programs. This part of the program of the consulting for the purely entrepreneurial aspect is thinking into results. Bob Proctor, as I mentioned, is a leader in the human potential of our mind. He has been studying this for 57 years. What's important about Bob's program is you must follow his action steps, and I facilitate people on how to reach their action steps. This is not for the faint of heart. This entire programming that we're doing, we're only working with people who are courageous. We're only working with people who are driven and ambitious. And I only take 2 or 3 new clients every month. So this is a very serious program, You can back out right now if you don't think you have the wherewithal to do more and be more and give more. This is really about thinking big and doing big. Change is scary. This is not for everyone. However, if you choose to work with us, and if it makes sense for us to partner with you, we are here to facilitate you through these scariest moments. I know I have certainly had them. This is not for the faint of heart, as I mentioned previously. And one of my goals, as I mentioned earlier, I want to see people fast track to make really good money. I also want to see them not make expensive mistakes. And when we get into the process, I'll mention some of the expensive mistakes that I made. Regardless of the fit, if you start listening to this program and we've scared you away because it's a little too intense, or you don't want to make the commitment, or you just don't have the drive for whatever reason, regardless of the fit, you're going to have some takeaways. And the biggest one is going to be the multiple sources of income, because that's what I'm really here to help people with, is create their own economy. But I'm only going to be able to do it if it makes sense for us to partner. Multiple sources of income is what our process is predominantly focused on, and Bob Proctor is a huge believer in multiple sources of income. This is a big part of our process, as I mentioned, and the first one that we are going to discuss is to become an expert in something you love. In creating your own economy, we're going to address multiple sources of income. And multiple sources of income can apply in either the aspect of an aspiring entrepreneur, or you can also use multiple sources if you choose to become an owner of a small inn. The first thing I think is important in order to create your multiple sources of income: become an expert in something you love. And you can see on the slide that Bob Proctor says people can improve their performance and enjoy greater results with what they already know. You would be surprised what we already know and what we can do with what we already know. Peggy McCall is another one of my mentors. She's amazing. Her ideas that she floats past you and you get this epiphany. I love public speaking, and this opportunity came about to study with Jason Fladland to create webinars, and it meets my needs of something I love, which is public speaking, but then what I know is 13 years as a business owner. And Bob Proctor is also a huge proponent of this, and his philosophy is you are going to expand every aspect of your life when you know exactly what you want. Again, become an expert in something that you love. And when you do that, here's what I really think is the cool thing: classes, classes, classes. Multiple sources of income. Bob Proctor believes this is the best way to have financial independence. And I've always had multiple sources of income. It's just the way I roll. What I suggest is that you become an expert in something that you love. And what you're going to do with that expertise is create class. Let me tell you, classes, classes, classes. Even the millennials, which is our new market, loves classes. And that's one of the main ways we made additional income at the inn. We did food and wine pairing classes to begin, and crazy Dutchess County people didn't want to pay $25 for exquisite wine and exquisite food. prepared by Culinary Institute of America student chefs, I made the decision to do private chef lunches and private chef dinners. Hugely, hugely popular. And then when you have a class, you can do something in regards to having an online business. Online business is really a very important way now to make additional income. And when I talk about becoming an expert or making additional income, I'm not looking at you folks going to school, going to college, getting a degree. These multiple sources of income should really be derived from something that you already love to do. Look, you could be a bicycle mechanic at home. You could easily do a class on that and record it and upload it to YouTube. YouTube is really the way to go to make extra money. So I want you to do something that you absolutely love, become an expert. I want you to make a class from it, whether that's going to be local. You could do it in your own garage, seriously. But upload it to YouTube, or you could upload it to LinkedIn. You can upload it to your Facebook. Have it so that people can connect and reach out to you for more information that you can charge them for. An online business is cool. Now, we also help people research other online businesses that might make sense for them. I'm also working with a company with press releases because I do press releases so much already for the inn. The last multiple source of income is if you have real estate, if you have an apartment in the city, if you have a vacation home, if you're an empty nester. You could do Airbnb. I'm not fond of Airbnb. We go over that in the consulting aspect. You can do something with vacation rental by owner. We call that Vrbo. And you'll see on this slide, you'll see HomeAway, you'll see Vrbo, Booking.com. You can list your property. You can list it, if it's just a room with Airbnb, you can list your entire house with Vrbo, vacation rental by owner, but you could also list an apartment with Vrbo. And this is a pretty darn good way of making additional income. I don't know anybody who's not experiencing high property taxes, and even something like this can help you meet those needs. You could easily make between, oh gosh, let's just say at the minimum maybe $3,000 extra a year if you wanted to take one of your rooms and make it into something that people could reserve through Airbnb. And the other aspect of, say you're an empty nester and you have a room or two, as I mentioned, I'm not really fond of Airbnb. I think strange people come through Airbnb. God, I'm going to be sued. But I do think in New York, you can have a guest house with 2 rooms, and you don't have to serve a full-blown breakfast. You don't have to be investigated. They're not going to come like the Board of Health. They're always inspecting us, but on a good note. So you're not going to be inspected by the authorities. You don't have to be licensed. So that's one thing to think about. And it's a nice way to kind of fill your way out if you even wanted to get in that industry. I do think one of the best things to do if you do have a second home, to make that into a vacation home through Vrbo. Vrbo's my favorite. We use it all the time. And that, I think, is a good way to make some additional income relatively quick. The last multiple source of income that I want to discuss is relating to real estate. If you have a second home, or if you are an empty nester and you have 1 or 2 extra bedrooms in your house, you could look into doing something with Airbnb. You could do something with vacation rental by owner, which we call Vrbo. And in New York, you can actually have 2 rooms as far as a guest house, and you can offer breakfast legally. Because what happens in New York, once you go over the 2 rooms, then you need to be Board of Health inspected. You have to get permits. There's all kinds of hoops you have to jump through, which is what we did, of course, with Le Petit Chateau. Airbnb, you're really just offering a room, and you're offering them the opportunity to have coffee or tea in your house and yogurt and a bagel. Airbnb is really the minimalist type of income you could have as far as having a guest in your house. Vacation rental by owner is more geared toward renting your entire house. I have seen apartments from vacation rental by owner. I use vacation rental by owner all the time, and when I travel to Europe, then I use rent villas. All of these have their pluses and negatives. Don't have time to go over this in the webinar, but I do think real estate is an amazing way to make some nice extra cash. And our real estate taxes and our school taxes are getting pretty high, so this is actually a pretty cool way of looking at additional income, another multiple source of income. And if you see by the slide, it say list your vacation rental. This is HomeAway, and they have quite a few websites that you could upload your property on. So here's one example of the gourmet cooking classes that we did. This was a typical email blast that we would do, but it was also an e-brochure. And the culinary class was really cool because it was private. It was all about local, and this was before farm to table became famous everywhere. We were really ahead of the curve when it came to local ingredients, only cooking things that are in season, never using strawberries unless they came from our local farms. We don't even get them at the store if they say they're organic, because they're not in season for us and they're being flown from California. I just wanted to show you that this was one of our most successful events, and this is how we did it. The e-brochure was a great way to promote this. Very successful. We still have people calling us wanting to do the private cooking classes. Besides that, of course, I had rental income, and then, of course, I had my second full-time career selling French wine. I want to mention that in the next slide, this is a duplicate of the one we just listened to, but I wanted to mention about press releases, because if you're in a career and you are choosing to do a new online business or some kind of side business, the next slide we're going to talk about press releases. And I mentioned that press releases are beneficial even if you are in an existing career. And I say that because you can write a press release about a promotion for yourself. You can write a press release about something, a new service that your department is offering. But the idea is to promote you and something new that you are doing. Therefore, when I say that even if you are in an existing career, that's my point of reference, is that if you are choosing to do an online business or a class, then use a press release to introduce this. It doesn't have to have anything to do with your existing career. You really want to use a press release to promote something new about yourself. So I hope that's clear. Once we go into the next slide, I'm going to mention that press releases are good in your present situation, and that's why. Hope that makes sense. The second part of our process is marketing. I am a marketing guru. Press releases are an amazing way to promote your business. Even if you're in an existing career, even if you have an existing business, you want to see a bump in your online business, press releases. So here's some of our press releases that we do, and we're happy to provide the templates and help you write your press releases if it makes sense to hire us. We wrote press releases to the media. That's the whole idea for the media. And I would only do press releases that worked with online. Online is the way the world is operating. Millennials are really our market. They're going to be our market in the future, and they're becoming our market now. They do everything online. They're always on their iPads, they're always on their iPhones. When you choose to do a press release and it makes sense for us to work together, we will certainly help you find those sources, because there's a gazillion online media sources. Print is important, but it's certainly not as important. It's not as important as the online business. Again, this is something, if you hire us, this is something that we do to help you with. The second form of marketing that we used, again online, were our email blast. The email blast is really for existing clients and customers, and they were very graphic. Actually, I want to back up. If you see the New York Côte Jardin, that is actually Le Petit Chateau as the centerfold in Le Figaro. Le Figaro is a super famous magazine in Paris, and I cried when we got in there because it's French. But it was a big deal, and this happened through one of our press releases. So to segue to the email blast, the two that you see to the side, we always did one for Valentine's, and I called it Valentine's Month. We never had people stay with us throughout the month. They only stayed around Valentine's weekend or Valentine's Day. However, what we did garner from this was gift certificates. And gift certificates are another way for you to increase your multiple source of income. The other one, you see peace, prosperity, and peasant appetizers. I hated New Year's Eve. I never worked New Year's Eve at the inn. I let the chefs take over. But they would just do a sideboard of, we would put out bubbles and little appetizers. But it's a beautiful email blast. And we would, again, send it out to our existing clients. We would put it up on our website. So email blasts go to existing clients, and the press release goes out to the media. Again, these are great marketing tools, and this is something I know how to do, and it's something if we can help you with if you choose to work with us. The inn is for sale. Well, everything that I own, the 40 acres and the 3 houses, are for sale. And my graphics person who does the website and all these slides, super talented, she did this really great postcard. This is not exactly the postcard that we use, but it's very similar to show people that it is for sale. The postcard tells you everything about the renovation, 4 private bathrooms in each of the rooms, fireplaces, gourmet kitchen. It's really beautiful the way she did it. And it has all these beautiful photos. So the postcard, business card, looks very much like this. And on the other side, where everything is delineated about everything we did to renovate the inn, and all the pluses, the 40 acres, the carriage house, my house, which has an apartment. So it's great investment property. It has great income potential. We use this design. We had put this great ad in one of the newspapers in New York City because, we want people to know it's for sale. And she's talented, and I like showing people what she does. The last part of the process, our step 3, is thinking into results. And this for me is the game changer, working with Bob Proctor through thinking into results. Regardless of whether you choose to go the route of lodging/hospitality entrepreneur, or you want to go purely entrepreneur and explore and have us advise and consult you on a small business, thinking into results is going to help you immensely. And here's the third example of my process of working as an entrepreneur. And it's very controversial. It's reviews versus referrals. I don't read reviews, I don't ask for reviews, and I don't respond to reviews. I do ask for referrals from guests, but I ask from people who are happy. I don't ask from people who don't understand what it's like to have a small business, etc. What I want people to realize is when you do have your own business, you are going to need testimonials. I would much rather have people reach out and ask for a testimonial from people that they trust than to ask people for a review. We go into this in depth, but I will share with you, when you begin your own business, I don't care if it's even a class online, when people do review, they can be amazingly cruel. And when you read that review, it will mess you up for a week. That's my controversial advice. Step number 3 is working with Bob Proctor and myself as the facilitator in thinking into results. And one of the ideas that I actually got from listening to Thinking into Results, studying his lessons, was it's not important for me to listen to people's reviews when they're just going to be nasty. And it gives you a sense of empowerment. That's one of the aspects I love so much about Thinking into Results. You have the sense of empowerment and self-worth, and you don't need to work with everybody. You don't need certain people's money, and actually you don't need anybody's money. You need to take care of yourself at the end of the day. So check this out. Bob Proctor says the people who are being recognized nowadays are the ones who can do things and get the job done. So even though selling my real estate is not 100% based on what I'm doing, there are action steps that I have taken to make this go forward. And one of those big action steps is I'm moving to Florida in November. I know it's going to sell. I know it. I feel it. I see it. I mean, it's a huge investment potential for someone who, if they don't even want the bed and breakfast, there's rental income. So following Bob Proctor's belief in your burning desire, I'm halfway there. I'm so thrilled. What are the benefits and drawbacks of working with a consulting firm like ours? We only take 2 or 3 new clients every month. We specialize in a small business entrepreneur, whether that be in lodging or, as I mentioned, a small business. We specialize, of course, in creating your own economy. And this is a bonus because whichever program you choose, we're going to help you with financial independence. These programs are designed to help you be more, do more, give more. We are very focused on action steps. We are results oriented. We expect accountability. We want to work with people who are driven, who are focused, and who are ambitious, but not in an ambitious way that hurts somebody else. The drawbacks, again, we only work with 2 or 3 new clients a month. Because we are so focused and specialized, it's hands-on. And as I mentioned, we want results. We want accountability. If it makes sense for us to work together, then during the consultation, we're going to look at the accountability sheet, both sign it and push that on button. We don't create websites, nor do we design them. We don't write business plans. We don't help with funding. We don't write advertising copy. We don't manage your business, employees, or expenses. We don't work with procrastinators. We don't work with people who can't make decisions. We don't work with people who are adverse to risk-taking. I'm going to share with you my contact information. You can use this to set up a consultation. No hard feelings on either side if it doesn't mesh, and there's no obligation. There's also a separate page where you can sign up for Thinking into Results. let me know, and we can actually get you started in that program within 24 to 48 hours. I hope you're feeling that the benefits outweigh the drawbacks. I just want to make sure that everybody's clear. What we do specifically is help people make money and avoid really big, expensive problems. Here's my information. You can email us. You can call. This is my direct line. And if you're interested in more information, please use either one of those contact information. We're going to go on to the next two ending short segments moving forward and what to do if you want to partner. Bob Proctor says, failing will never make you a failure unless you quit. And the next slide shows something interesting that I did, which I'm going to change to right now. I decided in 2010, after 5 years of being open, that I wanted the carriage house, which is the second house on the property. It's about 500 feet from the inn. I decided I wanted to expand that into 3 more rooms and a 2-bedroom caretaker apartment. And these are the preliminary plans. I spent $10,000 with the architect, another $5,000 with the planning board. Everything got approved, and I decided a year later, I don't want to do this any longer. I want to bike and sail and swim, and yeah. So I have these beautiful plans. Anybody's interested, or 3 more rooms and a 2-bedroom caretaker apartment, if they want to expand the bed and breakfast into a real live money-making crazy production. Was this a failure? I don't think so, because it enhances the property. If someone does want to buy the property and continue it as a small inn, even, however, if they just want to buy the property, they can use those plans with the architect, Maureen Associates, great people, with just some tweaking, and go back in front of the board. They don't have to have 3 bedrooms. They don't have to have a 2-bedroom caretaker apartment. But the plans are beautiful. And there's a pseudo septic tank already put in. There's a lot of things I did that could save somebody a lot of money if they want to just take the carriage house and renovate it via the plans and go in front of the planning board and have at it. Moving forward, if you feel as though you're ready to take that one step forward, then send us an email, or we'll send you an email, whichever way it works, and simply put in the subject line, appointment request for inn consulting or the entrepreneur consulting. And if you feel that you would like to begin immediately because of the limit of 2 or 3 new clients, we have an intake form that we're going to show in a couple of slides, and you can sign up using that link. And you'll be enrolled in Thinking Into Results within the next 1 or 2 days. And that also involves me contacting you, and we set up a weekly schedule in order for me to help facilitate you. So if you're ready to take that one step forward, you're going to send us an email. We're probably going to send you an email also to explore a future partner potential. It's a phone call. There's no obligation, consultation. There's not going to be any hard feelings on either side whether or not we're a good fit. One thing to know about me, when I might make up my mind to do something, I do it. This whole situation with moving to Florida before my property is sold, again, none of my friends believed me. And this happened when I was in my planning stages of acquiring the property, starting a B&B. I am a decision-taking person. And you see by the slide, Bob Proctor says, you are doomed to never move forward if you don't make a decision. And that's whether the decision to move forward with our consulting or just simply the decision to not move forward. But to be indecisive, for people, you're just doomed to never move anywhere forward in your life. And you're frustrated. Your mind and your emotions are constantly at war. We don't want to see you do that. This is my motto. I'm a big risk taker. I believe in taking risks. That's the way I live. And the people I want to work with, I don't want them to risk fortunes or risk their health, but I want them to understand if you're ever going to achieve anything that's worthwhile, you got to take a risk. Here is the breakdown of the two different types of consulting. The hospitality consulting, which is the small inn or bed and breakfast. It's really a 12-week program, but I'm throwing in another week as a bonus for anyone who signs up within the next 7 days. I know what it's like to do this consulting, and I want to see people fast track, and sometimes it just takes that extra week to help people tie it all together and get their action steps really cemented. So it's $30.95. We do installments in case you are interested in that. And you can see what we offer. It's very hands-on. We're very result-oriented. We're not taking prisoners. We want people who are driven and focused and committed. This is the entrepreneurial program. Again, I'm throwing in an extra bonus week. It's really a 12-week program when you look it up. But I like to throw in that 13-week, that extra week to help people, again, tie it all together. You can choose to do both programs, and we can do them both within a 13-week. It's just going to be more than one call a week. It's probably going to be a few meetings, maybe 2 or 3 a week, easily. Just a little more intense program, but you're certainly more than welcome to sign up for both if you want to. You do save some money by buying both programs. Again, this is not for everybody. This type of consulting, results oriented, it's not for the faint of heart. We're really driven to see people achieve some pretty cool things within 3 months. These are some pretty cool statements by Bob Proctor. And Earl Nightingale, if you don't know who that is, just Google it. But people who really focus on financial independence, financial gains, it's an astounding number that only 2% of the population earn 96% of the wealth. And to make a quantum leap from that, there's also the belief that you realize it takes the same amount of energy to stay poor as it does to become rich. Contact information again in case you keep missing it. And if you're not ready quite yet to take that one step forward for the consultation, what I like to suggest is what Bob Proctor does with people. He's talking about what you really want out of life, whether it be your financial, your health, your relationships. You fantasize about it and then move it from fantasy to theory. And don't let any outside circumstances or conditions dictate how you're going to live. Seriously refuse to let anything that's going outside of you stop you. And let me give you an example. When I was just contemplating buying a property and opening a French-themed bed and breakfast, all my friends said, no, don't, you can't do anything French. The Americans hate the French, because we were in some stupid war and the French wouldn't join. And remember, we didn't call them French fries any longer. We called them freedom fries. I didn't, because I'm a Francophile. I would never hate the French. Nobody, and I mean that with capital letters, nobody supported me in what I was doing, my dream. And I persevered. So many people were shocked, and they are shocked, that I've had this French theme, very successful bed and breakfast for 13 years. And that's what I mean. Do not let anybody stop you, but take the time. If you're not ready for our consulting services, take the time to figure out what you want. And here's the best way to do that. Make a list. It's 2 lists. It's your personal wants and your professional wants. And it can be a long list. It doesn't matter. Draw a line between the two. You just do 8.5 by 11 paper. On your personal wants, make a list. On your professional wants, make a list. Mull it over, few days, few weeks, few months. Just get something clear that you really feel a burning desire for. Narrow it down to 1 each. And then, if you feel like you need some help, if you feel like you want some guidance, if you really feel like you would love to be catapulted to the next stratosphere, because that's really what we want to do. We want to see people earn a lot of money and save a lot of money, then give us a call. And there's some bonuses. Well, I already mentioned these are really 12-week programs, but I'm throwing in a week for each program, as long as someone signs up within the next 7 days. But the really cool bonus is if anyone wants to do an internship at Le Petit Chateau. It's only good from now through October. It's 4 weeks. Your housing and 1 meal is provided for. Of course, advising, that's all part of the bonus. We pick you up from the train station, which is Metro North. It's extremely limited, of course. 2 attendees per month is pretty much all I can do between now and October, between the end of October. And you have to be invested, paid in full. Our intake form, and you can use this if you feel so inclined to start up relatively quickly because of the bonus of the 13 weeks, or if you're concerned about not getting in because you only take 2 or 3 new clients a month. So if you have insomnia and you want to fill this out and just email it to us, you know, just take a screenshot of it, send it off to us. Well, that doesn't make sense, does it? Print it, fill it in, take a photo. You can send it to us. I wanted to show people what this property looked like back in the 50s. All the way to the left is the bed and breakfast. It looks nothing like that. All those trees aren't anywhere around it. And to the right, in the middle, wait, where is it? That's the carriage house. The other building that's close to the pond, that's the chicken shed. And you really can't see my house. My house is back there all the way where that road makes a sharp U-turn. Look at all those trees. Those trees aren't there any longer either. But it's cool, right, to see this back from the 50s. The pond is man-made, but it's spring-fed, and there's fish in it. It's pretty cool. That thing in the middle is an island. I just wanted to show people what it looks like 50 years ago. Gosh, 50, 60, 70 years ago. A long time ago. As you can see, the inn is quite lovely. And even though I'll miss it when I move, it's really just time for a new adventure. And it's time for someone with a bigger vision, than I have to take over, either as a beautiful house, beautiful 40 acres with a 2-acre pond, 2 rental income, actually 3 rental income, because above my house is a cute little apartment. A great opportunity for cash flow. To me, the small inn and bed and breakfast business is perfect for a family. It's perfect for partners. It's perfect for people who want a compound. It is so private on this property, you really feel like you're in another world. However, it's 3 minutes from the world famous Culinary Institute of America. It's smack dab at the beginning of Hyde Park, and Franklin Delano Roosevelt's Presidential Library is here. Valkill is here, which is Eleanor's home. Eleanor Roosevelt, she had her separate home, if you don't know the history. And we have one of the Vanderbilt mansions. Again, this kind of a business is perfect for people who are looking for a quieter life, people who want to have their families' finances secure, the kind of business where you can really create your own economy. This is the kind of business you do not have to listen to the news ever again, because I have built it with such a great reputation that it is completely turnkey. And if it makes sense to work together, whether someone wants to buy this place or another inn, I certainly know how to help people create their own economy and make a lot more money than just selling rooms. Multiple sources of income. One of the aspects I want to point out right away is you can make money off of what you already know. And the number one rule I feel in starting a multiple source, choosing a multiple source of income, is to become an expert in something you love. Bob Proctor says that people can improve their performance and enjoy greater results with what they already know. And he also stresses you're going to see your life expand in every aspect when you finally know exactly what you want. In the multiple source of income, there's 4 that I'm going to discuss. And the number 1 is what I just said. And it ties into what I believe is the easiest way to start a multiple source of income. Classes, classes, classes. That's what we did with the bed and breakfast. Again, what I want to point out is become an expert in something that you love. Because when the inn first opened, and of course remember I've been selling French wine for 22 years, I would do food and wine pairing classes. And in lovely Dutchess County, people really didn't want to pay $25 for exquisite wine and exquisite food. Therefore, I said, fine. I learned that the culinary student chefs I was working with were super talented, and I said, well, let's do private chef lunches and private chef dinners. Lo and behold, we got up to $310 a couple, meaning that's what we were charging for our private chef lunch and our private chef dinner. And the classes were really cool because they're private. They were all about the guest. It wasn't a preset menu. We had certain costs that I had them keep under control. And as long as I made $160 that I could put in the bank for the inn, I was happy with that because it was the price of our least expensive room. I didn't have to renovate. I didn't have to do anything that cost me money. Just the chef was already working for me and the guest was already coming to the inn, but this really put us on the map. So classes, classes, classes. And I get into this if it makes sense for us to work together. Other ideas for classes. Knitting is hugely popular, crazy. But I even see in my small town of Hyde Park, there's a printing shop, and I always thought it would be really cool because printers, all the graphics they do now, I'm clueless. I can't do MailChimp, I can't do Constant Contact. The gal who does all my website work, I tell her what I want, I send her examples. She's amazing. She's done all these slides. But I always thought it'd be really cool if this guy did stuff for the chamber and had small classes at his place, and like 4 people, and just charge them $15, and they're come in on a Saturday morning or something, or a Friday evening or a Thursday evening. They have 4 people, and you spread the love. You teach them a little bit of graphics for 30 minutes. That's what I mean. Classes, classes, classes. And I think if you're just starting out looking at multiple sources of income, the really cool thing is do something that you love. And then you upload it to YouTube. And you can make money that way. There are other ways of online businesses, but that is another multiple source of income. And that's something we help people research. You know, Bob Proctor says the only people who are being recognized today are the ones who can do things and really get the job done. And I know that we all have full-time jobs. I was crazy enough when I had the French wine career buckled down. I decided I wanted to have this bed and breakfast, and I spent lots of money and lots of time on doing it. And I'm glad I did it. So you take this, what I did, that whole aspect of an old house, gutted it, spent $250,000, worked with the architects, learned what it's like working with them for a year and a half, the variances and the permits. It becomes this lovely inn, and made money. It's still making money, but it's on the market. It's time for it to be sold. The other thing is you learn to make a few mistakes, and some of my mistakes were really expensive. So in multiple sources of income, my first point is to become an expert in something you love. Look, I became an expert after a few years of selling French wine. I studied all the time. I went back and forth to France. I was lucky to marry a Frenchman. And then I realized classes are a great way to make money. And then we went online with it. We marketed it everywhere. And the fourth thing that I want to point out is there is another way to make money with multiple sources of income that includes your real estate. I had mentioned that I am not 100% in control of selling my property, obviously. I have a broker and there's other extenuating circumstances. However, one of the things that my graphics person and I have done, we have made a postcard, and this example that you see here, we've taken a lot of this information and put it on a postcard so that when people come to the inn, they see the postcard and it talks about the properties being sold for $1.2 million and all the renovations, and it talks about the pluses of the inn, the 4 bedrooms, fireplaces, huge gourmet kitchen. And that's an action step. That's the kind of action step that you're going to learn to do to realize your goal. And we've put it on the website, of course. And now it's on this webinar, because even though I'm pretty sure we have someone who's going to buy it, we're not in contract yet. And for me, until that money's in the bank, I'm still looking for a buyer. This is the kind of action step that makes you realize that you are moving forward, that even though selling of my property is not 100% in my control, there's so many action steps that I can take to make this a reality. Therefore, I'm showing you the slide in order for you to understand that I have done many action steps to make the sale of my property a reality. Might not be happening as quickly as I would like it to happen, but I have all the faith, I have the vision, I see it, I feel it, I taste it. I see us at the closing table. I know it's going to happen. Following Bob Proctor's lessons is a game changer. I've used it throughout my years at the inn. I also used it in my 22 years of selling French wine, which is another full-time career I had while I had the bed and breakfast. And I used Bob Proctor's lesson to propel me into a whole nother stratosphere of not just producing income, but devising multiple sources of income. And that's another strong part of his Thinking into Results program. Once you begin his program, it's amazing what your mind will come up with as far as ways to make money, ways to improve your life, ways to improve your health, your relationships. He shows, later on in the program, there's going to be a video by a gentleman called Peter Hurley, who he trained. Proctor actually got him, he was a sailor, and he wanted to get into the Olympics, and he did that. But he was also a bartender, and he came back from this incredible achievement, being on the sailing Olympic team, and thought, well, am I going back to New York just to work until 4 a.m. after I had this incredible experience? And tune into that video if you can, and he talks about how Bob Proctor's program catapulted him into being one of the world's most famous portfolio photographers. Check that out.
I was kind of at this point in my life where I'd spinning my wheels trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I bartended till like 4 a.m. I lived in a 5th floor walk-up with my brother. I went to one of Bob's workshops, and he'd gotten to know me because I kind of was hanging around a little bit. And he knew I had trained for the Olympics, and he was doing a portion on decision making, and he said to me, "Where is that sailor guy?" And I was like, and he's like, "Stand up." And he said, "Why aren't you going for the Olympics?" And this was like beginning in '99. The Olympics were in 2000. I hadn't thought about going to the Olympics. I was like, I had been done. I missed the team. I was like, I'm not going to the Olympics. Well, Bob was doing a 2-day workshop, and this portion was on decision making. He said, "Look, I want you to go home, sleep on it, come back in the morning and tell us if you're going to go for the gold medal." I didn't sleep that night. I started thinking about, what am I doing? I'm bartending till 4 a.m. I'm like trying to make ends meet as a model actor dude. It's not working. I was like, I have this gift of sailing. I should go sail. I go back to the workshop the next day, and Bob says, "Where's Peter?" And I stand up. Bob had this guy who won the decathlon in 1956 named Milt Campbell next to him on stage. And Milt stood up and he said, "I'm going to coach you." I packed up my apartment in New York. I got on a plane. I rented a car out there. I shipped my boat. I got a van, threw my boat on top of it. I started sailing. And in 2000, I became a member of the United States sailing team, something I wouldn't have done if I hadn't made that decision. I finished the Olympics. I made the U.S. team, which was great. But when the sailing was over, I was like, what am I going to do? Am I going to go back to New York and be the model actor bartender dude? And I was like, I can't do that, can't do it. And I decided to pick up a camera. It led into something huge, and it's been great. I'm now considered the premier headshot photographer in the world. And I just wrote a book called The Headshot, and I've been shooting headshots since about 2002. And I coach over 9,000 photographers on headshot photography worldwide. And I have photographers that are my associates in all areas of the globe. So it's been amazing. My purpose is to pull a human expression out of everybody that I shoot that's authentic, reactive, and based on trust. And that's what I try and do every day. I had been away from the concepts that Bob was teaching for a while, and I had been introduced to his coaching program. It was amazing. It did everything that I needed to do to get reinvigorated and get going again and start to create these goals for myself and look at my life in a different way and try and figure out how to get these multiple sources of income going. When I trained for the Olympics, we had a sports psychologist work for us, and we were doing goal setting and stuff like that, and I was doing visualization, and it was all this stuff that I was doing that I didn't know what I was doing. The first seminar that Bob did that I sat into, it was like a light bulb. It was like an epiphany. It was like, boom, oh my gosh, all this stuff that he's talking about, I think I was doing. I wasn't aware that I was doing it, but I was already kind of in that mindset and in that mode. Being more aware of it made things click a lot faster, made me be able to be successful in all the endeavors that I really went for. I may be shooting their head, but I'm aiming for their heart. And if I can teach people how to behave in front of a camera and be better and capture an image that they're really proud of themselves, that's a huge deal. And that's what I do every day right here.
Check us out at ProctorGallagherInstitute.com for tips, tools, and resources.
For those of you who like testimonials, we have some really cool testimonials by people who have worked with Bob Proctor. For me, the video with Peter Hurley just speaks volumes. And last, just so you know, when we have the consultation, I'm going to email you a test. It's really just a few questions about whether you fit as an entrepreneur, and that's either as the lodging industry, if that's what you're going to focus, where your focus is, or if you do have the aspiration to be a small business entrepreneur. And again, we'll discuss the pricing. The lodging is $30.95, or you can do 3 installments. And the entrepreneur consultant is $5,100, or 3 installments of $1,700. You can do both programs, and we can talk about that at the consultation. So again, the consultation, it's no obligation. There's not going to be any hard feelings, and there's a commitment to make. The only way you really learn anything, and that means even taking action steps to improve your results, is repetition. And that's something we go over in the consultation phone call. This is the intake form, as I mentioned earlier. And when we do our consultation, what's going to happen is we're really, again, exploring whether or not it makes sense for us to work together. It's basically, you ask me questions, I'm going to ask you questions. We're going to go over the fact if you're comfortable with being an entrepreneur. We're going to go over the aspect of what it would entail for you to become someone who wants to own a small inn. And we'll discuss options. Even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, you don't want to open a small inn, we can still help you create your own economy. And what needs to be developed, we can help you with that. So the outcome that I'm really looking for is, are you committed and driven to make significant changes in order to see changes in your health, in your wealth, in your attitude, even in your friends? So the typical outcome of a consultation, people tell me how much time they can devote on a daily basis, because a lot of people are surprised that everything that you're going to do with us is based on repetition. It's similar to learning a new language. It's similar to learning a sport. It's similar to learning any kind of trade. Repetition, repetition, repetition. The more you practice, so to speak, the better you're going to get. And that's what we're looking for, people who are ready to commit an hour a day. What I do is I spend half an hour in the morning, half an hour sometime during the afternoon. And if it makes sense for us to work together, then I send you the accountability agreement. We both sign it, and we go from there. And this is me holding up a bottle of French rosé, and Pichon. The winemaker is Marc Pichon, one of my favorite human beings in the entire world. He met an untimely death last year, and this is my ode to Marc. To imagine the world without Marc Pichon it's unfathomable. But it's one of my favorite bottles of wine. He's just a super winemaker. And of course, I want everybody to know that I can help you learn French wine. Another bonus. The last 2 slides, I'm simply including as a recap for Bob Proctor and just a reminder of what we're about, why we do the 2 different programs. And thank you very much for listening. And I hope some of you will reach out to us so we can help you improve your world. One of the aspects that I really like about Bob Proctor's program, Thinking into Results, is when you're studying his program on a daily basis, you really start thinking very creatively. This is not always about your income. It's about changing your life and pursuing something that you really love. And it's also about your health. I have seen people use Thinking into Results to improve their health in a very dramatic way. I have seen them use Thinking into Results to improve their relationships in a very dramatic way. So create your own economy. Economy can actually mean wealth in your life, but wealth as far as friends and relationships in your health. Therefore, when you think of create your own economy, naturally I want you to think about some cool businesses that you can start, some ways to make income without going back to school. When I tell you in the next slide to become an expert in something you love, that does not mean you have to go back to school or go to night class or get another degree. Because for 22 years that I sold French wine, it was actually happenstance that I did become an expert. People in my area, my territory where I was selling, could not pronounce French words well at all. They didn't understand Burgundies. They didn't understand Bordeaux, simply because they didn't take the time to travel there. Number one, certainly helped. I was married to a Frenchman, but you would be surprised at what you already know and what you can already achieve. And Bob Proctor believes that. Again, the program is twofold. So you have a choice of working with us in regards to researching whether or not you're a good fit for innkeeping, being that kind of a business person, or other small business that you want us to help you research. When I talk about multiple sources of income, we all have full-time jobs, and I'm not expecting anyone to quit their job and start working on multiple sources of income. This is why it's a good idea to hire someone like us to help you with the transition if you so choose to make a career change. However, the multiple sources of income that I'm discussing are really ones that you can do while you're in your present career. Right? I just want to make that clear. I am certainly not expecting anybody to do drastic changes. I do that. I'm a big risk taker. I don't expect anybody else to do that.